get this. Nickelodeon Kart Racers apparently has a mobile version. What's crazy about this though is that it's been available to play since March of 2021. And no one has talked about this? In this video, we're going to dive into this game's origins, how it plays, and whether or not it is worth it for you to check out. Hey beautiful humans, it's RidersDX, and in my defense, with this game's review, it was a soft launch, but anyway, shout out to Cartoon Post for blessing Dave and I with this news on stream because this was crazy.
There's been a mobile version of Nickelodeon Kart Racers since March of 2021.
What?
Oh my god, it's right here. I have it.
I'm going to look this up right now. Developed by Kung Fu Factory, responsible for many mobile titles like Hotel Transylvania Puzzle Blast and Adventure Time Card Wars, this game is basically a mobile kart version of the original Kart Racers. Well, more so Kart Racers 2 because this takes all of its assets and tracks and such from Kart Racers 2. Basically, it looks like a direct port if you're not looking close enough. It's got the same art style, same tracks, same character models, and it's really impressive. But considering the fact that the console version actually isn't that impressive graphically, it's actually not much of a surprise if you really think about it. But gameplay wise, it definitely plays differently because as you can see, this is not a widescreen racer, this is a vertical racer, you know, for mobile phones. And so despite the tracks and the characters looking very similar, it does control quite differently. The kart first of all accelerates automatically, so you don't have to worry about, you know, increasing or decreasing the speed because the main mechanic is actually tapping at the correct times to maximize your drifts and jumps. So you see this little bar over here, you gotta try to tap it in the green area or at least the yellow area to get points, I guess, for getting it right, and it thus increases your speed and either puts you in lead or maximizes your lead in the track. You have to tilt your phone left and right to move across the track, and you can use the slime boost button to give yourself a boost. Watch out for those oil slicks though, because that can decrease your speed and even make you lose control a little bit. And of course, the tracks have boost pads, jump pads. The only thing really missing here is items from the original game. I actually quite enjoyed this myself personally. It plays solid enough, and it's cool having a miniature kart race on the phone with Nickelodeon properties. My biggest criticism though sort of comes with the territory. And so this is a free to play mobile game, and so you can imagine that there are some ways in making sure that they get revenue from this game by encouraging people to buy certain items and such. You know, microtransactions are definitely rampant over here, but my biggest criticism is that the game actually limits how much you can play through these slime capsules. So you have to pay a certain amount of slime capsules to race, and it just refills with time. But if you reach 0 slime capsules, you can't play anymore unless you wait or, of course, pay to play. I completely understand the free-to-play mindset. It does come to territory of mobile games, but I think limiting how much you actually play the game goes a little too far. I'd rather they just straight up charge me at the start to buy the app than that, honestly, because that feels a little cheap because, you know, you could be having the time of your life playing through this game, you know, God forbid, this game is actually really fun for a bunch of people, and then you run out of slime capsules and you are forced to wait or pay money to keep going. And if you're really obsessed with the game, then the game basically pays for itself. You know, they'll make tons of money that way. I just think that that's really not a very attractive way of trying to get profits from this game. Despite that though, the game is pretty fun for what it is, and I really hope they plan to actually market this because as far as I can tell, there's been no tweets from Nickelodeon, Game Build Entertainment, or anyone talking about this game. The only tweet I could see promoting this game comes from Kung Fu Factory, but otherwise, the last time I checked, this game had under 100,000 players, which is kind of low for a mobile game, at least for a Nickelodeon branded mobile game. You look at all the other Nickelodeon games and see how many players they have, and they only have that many more players because it's actually been marketed and advertised. And so I'm not really sure what happened here. I wonder if this game got launched and they were planning to promote it, but when Nickelodeon All Star Brawl really took the internet by storm, I wonder if they sort of pushed this to the side because they didn't want the marketing of this game to clash with Nickelodeon All Star Brawl. Still, it's kind of a shame because, I mean, this is a free-to-play mobile version of Nickelodeon Kart Racers, and despite its differences, it's still a kart racing game, and it's still pretty fun. And so it's a little unfortunate that the game has kind of just been left to the side and really just to fend for itself. So, I don't know, I think it's a pretty decent enough game. I think another thing I would have loved they added to the game was an alternative to tilting the phone because I don't know why, but I really dislike like tilting the phone to control the kart racer. It feels a little uncomfortable sometimes, especially when you're trying to guide your racer across the track, and sometimes the tilting just isn't as responsive as you'd like it to. So I feel like having some kind of control to be able to just direct the kart on the phone itself would have been nice to have as an option, but I don't know, just some thoughts I had. Plus, when you're lying on the bed and playing this game, it actually does kind of cramp my hands, so I would like a different option instead of tilting the phone. If you want to hear about my thoughts about the original Nickelodeon Kart Racer games, then stay tuned because I'm about to play you a snippet of my Nickelodeon Crossover Games video where I specifically talk about the console iterations of Nickelodeon Kart Racer. Nickelodeon Kart Racers is a 2018 racing video game developed by Bamtang Games and published by Gang Mill Entertainment. The game came as a bit of a surprise when it was announced after it was revealed that THQ Nordic would be focusing on bringing back Nickelodeon properties in video game form, but hey, maybe Nickelodeon doesn't believe in monogamy. Nickelodeon Kart Racers is actually a pretty significant game to me, as it's one of the first games that really helped kick off this channel. When the game first got announced, I was releasing weekly videos discussing it, and it brought in some of y'all to this channel for the first time. I even got a shout out from the developers thanking me for my coverage of this game, so you could say I was pretty OP. But how about the actual game? Well, back then I did review it positively, as to me, despite shortcomings, it was still a solidly built experience that had some fun to be had with it. But playing it now, I do feel sort of the same way, but I'm so much more bored with this game than I was before. The game feels like a driving lesson if you were trying to get your kid ready for the test as early as 6. It's just a mindless kart racer with the simplest mechanics imaginable. I can't lie, the game functions pretty well for what it is. It manages to stay about 60 FPS for the most part, and the kart racing feels solid. Drifting works and the items feel pretty well balanced. But it certainly isn't anything we haven't seen before. It's basically Mario Kart but with 20% of the excitement, and one huge reason for that is the selection of characters and courses. Not only are only 4 franchises represented with 12 characters, but 4 of them are for the Ninja Turtles, who aren't even truly Nicktoons. I don't even hate turtles, but Game Mill seem hell-bent on shifting public opinion towards favoring their extinction. Each level theme is also repeated 3 times, so despite there being 24 courses, many of them will look eerily similar aside from a change in the time of day perhaps. And the absence of voice acting makes this one of the most lifeless Nickelodeon games I've ever played. Sure, this was a generic kart racer for a relatively low-key roster, this wouldn't be a deal breaker. But for a Nickelodeon game where the voices are part of what makes these characters so iconic, the absence of Spongebob's laugh is just a huge blow to the game's authenticity. Like I said, the game plays perfectly fine and it's a decent enough distraction if it's all you got. But if you're looking for that full-on Nickelodeon racing experience that's been severely lacking here, the sequel is probably the closest you can get. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 came out 2 years later from the same developers, and you could say there was a bit of a vengeance from them to make this game bigger and better. The game now features a selection of 29 playable characters from 12 different Nicktoons, as well as real-life actress JoJo Siwa. The game also supports online multiplayer, so they were truly bringing out the big guns to make this a success. So when I played with this game, it's basically better than the original in every way imaginable. On top of the increased character selection, you also have way more variety in track selection, and none of the themes are repeated this time around, so you truly have 28 unique locations to choose from here. The Air Temple, the Ghost Zone, Royal Woods, and even Atlantis. This game really went out in tying in as many Nicktoons as possible with choices that aren't necessarily that obvious. Another really smart new feature is the crew members, as you're able to unlock 70 characters that you can essentially equip, which will give you certain benefits that will happen under certain conditions, like getting a boost right after you get hurt. It adds a tactical approach to the racing that I really like, and plus it gives us an opportunity to see so many other characters make appearances here that probably wouldn't otherwise. I will say, once you find your ideal combination, there's not a lot of incentive to experiment, but there's a ton of choices if you do. And on top of that, the game just feels better and faster. It's a lot more exciting to race through, and the tracks have way more going on than the first game. The CPUs feel legitimately challenging this time too, as I felt like in the first game passing them was pretty easy, but there was some serious rubbernecking going on that brought them closer to you in the most annoying of ways. The only thing I'll say is that the items are way more prevalent here, and it definitely feels more like Mario Kart than ever before. Like the blue shell equivalent hits you for half of the match if you manage to stay in first. But I guess that's just part of the experience, right? The higher you go, the more painful it gets. There's still no voice acting, but honestly, the developers did literally everything else they could to make this a valuable experience. So if you're looking for some solid racing action with licensed properties, this is a really good and underrated choice. If you want to learn about tons of other Nickelodeon crossover games, then feel free to check out that video in the top left over here. A special shout out to my patrons, Teen Rival Sign Gamer, Trash Q, and Claw84. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, and just let me know your thoughts about this kart racer mobile game in the comment section below. And just, yeah. Thank you all so much. This is Riders, riding out.